Thank you for watching the CEO Barbecue. My name is Antonio, and today I'm taking you with me all the way to Nevada, where I'll be looking for gold and copper. Joining me on the barbecue today is Chad Peters, the CEO of Ridgeline Minerals. Before we get into the actual interview, though, I'd like to warn you that we have received monetary compensation for the production of this video from the company that's being interviewed. Please understand that this channel is a business that sells content producing services to companies, which means you cannot rely on this video for research and you should treat this as an advertisement instead. Research is conducted by reading the company's official filings, which you can find on setterplus.ca. Please only watch this if you know what you're doing. This interview is intended only for experienced junior mining speculators because mineral exploration, development, and mining is a very tough business where failure is the norm. This is going to be a conversation that is general and impersonal in nature, containing forward-looking statements. I am not a licensed financial advisor, so before continuing on, please talk to an investment advisor with a good long-term track record because your capital is at risk, and I am neither a licensed financial advisor nor do I have a good long-term track record. If you're not 100% sure you understand 100% of the disclaimers I just showed you and told you about, please go to the last section of this video and do not consume this content unless you fully understand and agree with everything said therein. That all said, Ridgeline is listed as RDG on the TSX Ventures Exchange, where over the last 3 months, an average of about 181,000 shares have traded daily. The stock's 52-week high is 24 cents. It's actually 24.5 cents to be specific, and its 52-week low is 8 cents. With a market cap of $28 million and 137 million shares outstanding, today this is a 20-cent stock, or to be specific, 20.5 cent stock. I'm not going to do a full company overview here as I typically do, though, because Chad and I have had many conversations over the last couple of months, and there even is a playlist on the channel that contains all of those conversations. So if you're new to the story, please do watch those. And if you missed the previous one, definitely watch that one because that's where Chad and I covered their full plans for 2025 in detail, as well as what had happened in 2024. In the meantime, though, Chad, I'm rushing to talk to you because a lot has happened since the last time we spoke, even though that was only about a month ago. So you've been busy. I'm looking forward to the conversation. But of course, first of all, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Pleasure's all mine, of course. And you have been busy. You've raised some money. You've done some
Yep.
infill IP at Big Blue. And as of yesterday, you've also announced some high priority drill targets at Selena, which we'll go a little
Yeah.
bit more in depth on. So yeah, loads to go through. Let's start with the money actually that you've
Yeah.
raised. It's $4.1 million through a non-broker private placement at 15 cents, which at the time was market value. There's a 2-year half warrant. It was at 25 cents. So notable, way higher than the market price there. And the financing was actually upsized from 3.5 to again over $4 million. And we'll touch upon your plans for this money here in a second, but talk to me about how it was for you to raise this money, given the conditions that you raised it at, and what
Right.
that's telling you about the financing market, and specifically about the half warrant, because again, you upsized it. It was non-brokered,
Yep.
relatively high price, at market. So suggesting that there was interest in Ridgeline,
Yeah.
yet you had to go with the half warrant. So talk to me about that.
Yeah, it's tough. The half warrants, especially when you're raising in the North American markets, it's tough to get away from them, right? Uh, market was still actually pretty rough when we kicked this off, middle of January. So there was a lot of interest in doing a raise from our shareholders, but that's because we're seeing, our biggest exploration budget in company history, being laid out by our partners. So, luckily for us, I had a pretty good catalyst to work with. So it wasn't like I was, kind of just saying, "Hey, we're raising 4 million to keep the lights on and maybe drill a few holes." We were able to say, "Look, we're raising, at the time, $3 million was our target, or 3.5. We're raising 3.5 million bucks, but you're going to see, roughly, 15 million Canadian going in the ground by our partners." So that was an easy story to tell. Wasn't able to get away from a half warrant, but we did get a 70% lift on that half warrant, which I think is material. It's showing that's better terms than I've been able to negotiate in our last 2 straight financings, right? In the past, it's been a 40 to 50% lift. So we're seeing a higher lift. That sets us up for potential financing again at 25 cents, which we're not far away from right now. So, it could potentially mean, we have 18-cent warrants that are in the money right now from our last financing, 25-cent warrants that are close to in the money. So hopefully we can use that as a kind of prearranged financing later in this year if we have drilling success, which will help top up the treasury. And overall, it was a surprisingly straightforward financing. And Luckily, we had an existing shareholder in Merck Investments who owned about 3% of the company pre money, came in on this financing and actually upped their stake to about 9%, non-diluted. So they took a big stake. They believe in what we're doing, and that was really the catalyst that kicked off a pretty successful financing for us.
I'm just disappointed that it's not an at the market warrant that is 5 years and it's a full warrant because that's what I'm used to from
That's
a Canadian
there's
bank.
enough of those still happening, right? So if you
Yeah.
look hard enough, you can go find those.
I'm just kidding. I actually don't like warrants, so that's why I opened
I
that.
don't either, but they're a necessary evil, it seems like, in junior mining these days.
It does, and I
Yeah.
appreciate kind of the overview of how the financing market, what the financing market looks like, as well as who's going in. Who else? I mean, are you putting any of your own money? I think it was in the news release as well, but are you putting any of your own money down for the financing?
I did participate. Yeah. So I put in $5,000 was the amount that I was able to personally do. I've written checks on every financing and put about 170,000 of my own cash into the company. So my wife has been very patient, but that patience is running thin on continuing to write checks. So it's time to get that stock up and see some return.
Well, we've given her shout outs in every episode so far that we've done, so might as well do it here now as well. She has been patient, it seems. What about the rest of this financing? I mean, you're mentioning Merck here. Was the rest outside of you and them? Was it mostly retail driven, or did you get support from other?
Uh, Primarily existing shareholders. Yeah. So
Okay,
we had a few new names come in, folks that I'm really excited about that are associated with other companies that personally wrote checks, which got me really excited. But mostly, I'd say 90% of it was existing shareholders.
right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what you're going to do with that money then. You're planning a 2,000-meter drill program at Big Blue, as well as some deep holes at Selena, which will actually fall under the earning agreement with South 32.
Yeah.
But how much of the $4 million will be needed to cover these programs and then the accompanying G&A over the rest of this year?
So we're going to spend about we're going to put 2,000 meters in the ground at Big Blue. The rig actually mobilizes out next Monday on March 3rd is the plan. So that'll be mobilizing out 2,000 meter program there. We'll follow up with about a 500 to 600 meter program at our Atlas project, which is an oxide gold play. That'll be a maiden program, oxide mineralization at surface. So very short holes, very quick, very cheap, but potentially really high upside if we do return a meaningful oxide gold intercept with the current price of gold and stuff. So excited about both those programs. Probably spend about 1.7. I'm hoping to keep it around 1.7, 1.75 million Canadian across both those projects, just to get that out the door. Our overhead cost for the year is roughly 1.5 million Canadian. So, that kind of covers between that drill program and our overhead. That'll take us all the way through the end of the year. Then on top of that, we're going to see three very important programs being done by our partners. So Selena will get drilled and funded by South 32. We'll be the operators of the projects. We'll actually bring in about 400,000 or 500,000 Canadian in revenue for Ridgeline, which will help offset our G&A. So when I say 1.5 million, it's actually, our actual G&A this year will be more like 1.1. So that's pretty exciting for us. And then Swift is going to get a significantly upsized exploration plan this year as well. Still waiting on final numbers, but I know it'll be considerably larger than the 3 million that was spent in 2024. And Blackridge is going to get a maiden drill program by NGM as well. So yeah, we got 5 projects being drilled. Collectively, you're going to see in and around 14 million US or close to about 18 million Canadian, if you look at the exchange rate going in the ground this year, of which we're only funding about 1.7 of. So I think an incredible kind of risk reward kind of scenario there, right? Where a shareholder in Ridgeline, you're buying the stock at what I think is still a very fair valuation. You're seeing almost our entire market cap going in the ground this year.
So it's 1.7 drilling, 1.1 the effective out-of-pocket cost
Yeah.
for the G&A.
Yeah.
That's going to leave you what? So when all is said and done, you've assayed everything, you've news released
Sure.
everything they want to do this year. You have $1.5 million in the bank. Am I getting that correctly?
Yeah, give or take. I think it'll be at the end of the day, we'll probably expand. Hopefully, one or both of these drill programs, we'll see a little more, some excitement. Maybe we drill a little deeper or drill a few more holes at Atlas. If I end the year with $1 million in the bank, I'd be really happy.
Right. I'd be happy to if I end a year
Yeah.
with $1 million in my bank.
Yeah. And hopefully we'll see some warrants exercised. We'll see some new discoveries made, and I hope that we'll have a much higher treasury than that. But on the low end, $1 million is my target.
Hmm. One of the ways that you're hoping to achieve that is, as far as I understand it, Selena. The
Yeah.
recent news for Selena, you said you've identified a high priority drill target. It's based on an MT survey that you ran, which showed you a large conductive anomaly that also happens to coincide with previous high grade drilling from 2022, as well as
Mhm.
this fault structures and reactive carbonate host rocks at the what you're calling this the Chinchilla sulfide target.
Yep.
It's more or less describing a perfect storm here. What's the attack plan? Is the idea to just sink a couple of holes in the middle of this anomaly into the alteration and the sulfides rich zone, or what's the yeah? How do you want to go about this?
Yeah, we've kind of, Selena was our flagship asset all the way up through the middle of last year, and then we ended up doing this deal with South 32, which we felt was the right move. They understand CRDs, they understand deep CRDs, based on their experience at the Taylor deposit in Arizona, and bringing them on really turbocharged exploration for us. So that MT survey alone was $350,000. They really wanted to see that done because they, like you said, perfect storm. They said, look, you've put 10,000 meters of drilling in here. You understand the geology. You've de-risked the project to a point where this Chinchilla sulfide target is a very real target for us. But we want to see that MT survey, which is going to allow us to better and more efficiently target, 1,500-meter drill holes, which frankly are not cheap, right? You're talking up to $700,000-800,000 for a hole like that. So they're willing to put their money where their mouth is. They want to drill this project this year, and that MT survey was the last missing piece. And so we have the right host rocks, like you said, big, thick carbonate package of host rocks. We have the right structural setting. We got a porphyry that's owned by Freeport McMoran that's right on the edge of the property. That's the fluid source. And now we have this MT survey that says, look, there's a conductive anomaly of scale sitting right where we thought it would be, directly above a historic drill hole that hit high grade CRD mineralization, but did not drill deep enough. So bringing in partners like South 32 allows us to not just drill one hole to the top of a system and then run out of money and not touch it again. What we can do now is we can come in and systematically drill across this MT anomaly. And I think we're going to announce a major discovery here this year. Getting ahead of myself. We'll see how well this ages. But if you ask me what project in our portfolio has the highest potential of becoming a material discovery in 2025, I'd have to say it's Selena.
Well, that's actually something that I wanted to ask you, which is would you do the deal again, looking at the MT and particularly its size? But what I'm getting from you here is that, I mean, this wouldn't really have been possible without South 32, and this drill program
Yeah.
wouldn't either.
Yeah, I think, look, I'd do it again. I really firmly believe in our business model. I think it's what's allowed us to come out of a really long bear market in a much stronger position than many of our peers, right? Where we have peers right now that are raising money to spool back up and start, hey, we're going to be an explorer again. The market's turning. We've already been doing that for the last 3 years, right? We've been doing this exploration, signing deals. We're in a very strong position this year. So I feel we're ahead of the pack as far as the kind of budget you're going to see being spent. I don't think there's very few 20 million market cap companies right now that are projecting a roughly 18 to $20 million budget for this year. I think we're in a small group and we have very strong projects that have really solid deals behind them. So yeah, to make tier one discoveries, which is what we're going for at both Selena and Swift, I think you need to have the big partners to actually make that happen because they have the deep pockets and the patience to weather, um, maybe what starts out as, just okay drill results. But as you learn more, you vector in and you make that discovery. Whereas if you're just a junior and that first few holes are just okay, which is exactly what hole 37 was that drilled directly above this MT anomaly, those results were just okay. And our stock sold down 30% when I announced them in 2022. The market wanted more, and I never was able to raise the capital to go back and take that hole deeper. And looking back now, I sure wish I did, right? But we have the partners now to make sure we don't just drill one hole, but we can go drill 10.
The market wanted more. Story of my
Yeah, they
life.
wanted more. Yeah,
Um,
they always want more. But
yeah.
yeah, it's just it's I guess the curse of being a junior, right? You need to either you come out the gate and you drill a big discovery and allows you to raise the capital to be able to push through that early discovery phase. If you don't have that deep treasury, even big discoveries, look at Hercules, right? Big drill hole right out the gate, huge market cap, lots of excitement. They've had a lot of success since then, but it's been a tough grind for them, right? They've had to put 10 million more dollars in the ground, and now they're just starting to really start to deliver some really exciting results through the end of last year. That's how discoveries happen, right? They take time, they take money, and sometimes having big partners is a big part of that.
Mm. I just spoke to Chris actually a couple of days ago. So you're
Mhm.
absolutely right. You're hitting the nail on the head right there. How many rigs are going to be running on Selena this year?
So far, we're targeting one, but we could upgrade to two if we have success.
Okay.
Yeah.
When does that start again?
That's going to probably start in about June. Still waiting on final budget approvals, but that's what we're targeting right now.
Yeah. So, and how, because you just kind of explained it or touched upon it, but previous drilling that showed those high grade intercepts that you were talking about in 2022, it was kind of above the anomaly, if I'm
Yeah.
looking at the
Yeah, I
graphics
know you're right.
correctly. How deep will we have to drill it this time?
Well, those holes, so the top of that intercept was around 650 meters, I think, in hole 37. And the hole bottomed, I think maybe it stopped just off the top of my head, maybe like 750 meters down or something. We need to take those holes to 1200 to 1500 meters in the deepest part of the anomaly. If you look at section BB prime on that same press release, it's looking the other direction. And what it shows you is right where hole 37 is one of the more the deeper part of the anomaly. As you step to the north, it goes up to, 800 to 1,000 meters to get into the same target.
Hmm.
Yeah,
1,500 meters sounds like a large number off the bat.
it is.
What would the economic depth cutoff be in this environment? And we're assuming a whole lot of things because we don't necessarily know what's at depth there, but what would
Yeah.
kind of the cutoff be?
Well, so it really depends on scale and grade, right? So I mean, if you hit thick enough intercepts that are high enough grade, you can mine to 2, 3,000 meters, right? Like that's not unheard of. There's mines in Canada that mine that deep. Just for a good context, the Taylor deposit, which is in Arizona, South 32 is the owner operator of that. They're putting it into production. It's about a $3 billion capex price tag on that. It's the largest CRD in the world right now, and the average depth down at the deeper parts of the deposit exceed 1,500 meters. So I think you can put in perspective that what we're chasing at Selena is not out of the realm of economics in comparable mines with a comparable part with the exact same partner. So
As you go deeper, or maybe well in 2022, was the drilling was it getting challenging at depth due to because you're dealing with structural complexities here that
yeah,
are kind of they're a plus really for mineralization, but in terms of stability, they could be a challenge. Was it getting challenging?
yeah, it actually wasn't. So the issue was we were drilling RC, which is a different type of drilling. So it's reverse circulation. You just get little rock chips coming out of the as a sample instead of nice tubes of core. That does not do well. Usually 6 to kind of 7, 800 meters is the absolute max depth of most drill RC drill rigs in Nevada. And you also have water to contend with. So as soon as you start getting groundwater, which is prevalent across Nevada, it also makes the RC drilling more difficult and reduces the depth you can drill. So the combination of water that we were intercepting in the hole, about 100 gallons a minute, combined with the depth of the hole, just meant that we hit about 750 meters and maxed it out.
Hmm. But you're not
Just runs the
expecting.
horsepower.
Okay,
Yeah.
but cross-cutting structures or anything else that's not
Yep.
expected to make things
No,
complicated.
no, it was, yeah, relatively straightforward drilling, to be honest. It's just deeper. You just got to drill core.
The previous intercepts also had some nice silver and gold numbers in them. Has
Yeah.
the internal thesis on that changed? As in, do you now expect this to be a polymetallic, silver-rich CRD, or are you leaning more toward it being a base metal play?
No, actually, it's a silver rich. So the average, for some of the best grades and best intercepts in the Chinchilla oxide zone, which is 2 kilometers to the east and it outcrops the surface. Our team made that discovery in 2020. Our best intercepts include, up to I think 6 meters of 480 grams silver, 18% lead zinc, and zero point 0.1 grams per ton gold. So we're rating that. I like the fact that it's silver rich. I don't ever want to have a zinc dominant. I don't think a zinc dominant CRD is favorable for us. I don't mind having lead and zinc as a byproduct, but I want it to kind of stand on its own as a silver play, and I think this will.
Hmm. The anomaly is kind of sandwiched between two thrust faults.
Yep.
If I'm reading the graphics
You
correctly,
nailed it, man. Yep.
are those that's about as far as my mental ability goes, by the way. But are those assumed to be the mineralization pathways, or what's the importance of those? Um,
Yeah, those are actually critical. Like without that thrust fabric, it might be a dramatically different looking target. So those thrusts all just to, I'm going to get creative. Those thrusts all kind of dip back this way. The porphyry sits right here. So that porphyry is feeding fluids up those thrust faults into the prospective carbonate host rocks that are on our project. And without those two combinations, you have a dramatically different looking system. So yeah, they're very important. And the actual anomaly itself tracks right along sandwiched between those two thrusts. And then actually, that's looking northwest. If you were then to travel into that section going north, it would then track up the thrust, which is actually shallowing to the north. So the empty anomaly tracks that key thrust 1 to 1. Without that guy, I think you got a different looking deposit.
That's a good explanation because I was thinking, could the anomaly that you're seeing on the MT be due to kind of a post-mineralization feature of some sort, some deep weathering, for example, or something like that? But you're saying it's closely related. Well, it goes hand in hand with the thrust faults.
Without, I won't nail out that it could be something else, right? For me to go say, nope, it's 100% a CRD, that's me being an asshole, right? Like there's always potential for things to be different when you get down with a drill hole. What is really material for us is that conductivity anomaly, the purple through orange anomaly, that's 25 to 100 and let me see, 100 ohm meters, which shows that that's incredibly conductive rock. So electricity is flowing very freely through that section of the host rock compared to the surrounding carbonates around it. So in our experience and in South 32's experience in multiple CRD systems, an MT signature of that intensity usually can only be explained by a mineralizing system, right? It's a post-mineral oxide zone or any kind of alteration just typically will not have that intensity of a response, even at those depths. So we have a lot of confidence that, especially if we didn't have hole 37, it'd kind of be like well, who knows, right? But hole 37 already hit the mineralizing system and it drilled right on the edge. I can't wait to see what happens when we drill 500 meters to the southeast right into the core of this thing. And I think it's going to be pretty exciting.
Was it MT that South 32 had used for Hermosa
It
to make
is,
that
yeah.
discovery?
So they've used it very effectively, and they actually said if we are doing an MT survey on this project, or we're not interested in partnering with you guys, like that was one of the like they just said like this is a great project, we love what you're doing. This is an absolute go or no go for us. Either you're on board with doing an MT, or and we said no, absolutely. You guys have the experience in this stuff. We'd love to see how it looks. And so when you look at a direct comparison between the MT response at Taylor versus the MT response at Selena, their core of their system is hosted on a thrust fault, just like our proposed target. And that thrust fault is showing an MT anomaly of similar scale and intensity. Theirs is 50 to 150 ohm meters. Ours is 25 ohm meters to 100. So the overlap is very close. Gives us a lot of confidence that what we're chasing at depth is probably a CRD system.
What does that mean, though? The intensity of the anomaly that you're seeing is what, a little less, or
It's
like what does that mean?
No, it's actually showing a higher conductivity. So it's showing more electrical, fluid or electrical is passing through, electricity is passing through our stuff a little bit smoother and faster than it is even at Taylor, which would
Mm,
suggest, again, usually electricity tends to want to flow through sulfides. So
right. Okay.
that's the interpretation. We'll see what a drill hole brings.
Right. Is South 32 talking about phase two already? I believe in 2022 they kind of you were still talking, you were already talking to them, or not. I'm not sure exactly what happened there, but have they started talking about phase two?
Yeah, so we started talking to South 32 and we actually met them at PDAC in 2023. So we had a core
Okay.
shack. We pulled them over and said, "Hey, we think you guys should take a look at this." They saw the core and went, "Holy crap, that looks pretty good." And that's what kicked off the conversation. They've been an incredible team to work with. We're really excited to have them as partners, and we're already discussing what the phase two, which would be our year two budget. Year one was about $600,000 US budget. MT doing a few other things, and it was about 600 grand. That budget is over in June of 2025. They are on an Australian fiscal year, which is June to July. Makes no sense, but hey, that's Australia for you. But so we would kick off call it our year two budget in July. And that is part of the intention of getting that drill program up and going is to support that year two budget.
But for Chinchilla, this is kind of a make it or break it type of year. Maybe not for Selena as a whole, but definitely for Chinchilla, if I'm getting this correctly. As
Yeah,
in,
I think so. You drill a fence of 4 holes across that 2 kilometer trend, and you drill through that empty anomaly, and you hit nothing at all. Yeah, that's that's a big problem, right? That dramatically downgrades the potential of the project. We think we have about 100 million ounces of silver, silver and gold sitting over at Chinchilla oxide. You could certainly bring that into a resource, and have an open pit play there that has value and probably is going to have a buyer, but it's not going to be the same level of excitement, right? I think to really have Selena take off, you have to prove the Chinchilla sulfide target and show that there's something there.
what is it that you think that you have there? Uh,
At Chinchilla sulfide?
no, no, I mean a hundred thousand
Yeah,
ounces of.
no, we
Okay.
figure we have 100 million ounces of silver equivalent in
Oh,
gold
okay.
and silver.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
over at Chinchilla oxide. We've got 10,000 meters of drilling into it. It's a kilometer and a half wide, kilometer long, up to 60 meters thick of potentially open pitable oxide mineralization. Yeah.
But really, why I'm asking this because I like the approach of drill to kill. I mean, you're there to actually prove that it's there or it's not there,
Yeah.
not to kind of string it along, and that's
Yeah.
obviously not what South 32 wants either.
No, we're trying to make big discoveries, right? Like we've the way we've structured these deals, we have 20, in this case, it's a 20% fully carried interest all the way to commercial production, right? Well, for that 20% to be really meaningful, we want to go find the next Taylor deposit, right? It needs to be big, right? And if we do, the only way to participate in a discovery at Selena or at our partners at Swift with NGM, either of those projects, the discovery is made, right? The only way for folks to participate in that discovery is through Ridgeline stock, because you're not going to see South 32 stock take off because they drill 50 meters of 600 grams silver at Selena, right? Or, same thing with NGM, right? It's just frankly, those stocks are going to stay fairly range bound regardless, right? Until that thing actually goes into production. For us, any immediate excitement from a discovery, that's channeled through our stock, which I think is exciting.
50 meters of 600 grams. Is that what you would want to see, or like what would you consider? Because we talk about drill to kill. What
Yeah.
is killed in this situation? What would you consider?
Oh, well, you'd have to hit almost nothing, right? It's a large target area. So if we still hit lots of smoke, lots of mineralization, 5 meters, 10 meters of, alteration, couple 100 grams silver, you name it, right? That's certainly showing we're still in system, and that would warrant a follow-up drill program. You hit nothing at all, I'm sure South 32 is going to rethink the project completely, right? But yeah, on the upside, what would be a massive success? I want to see a 30 to 50 meter intercept of anywhere from 500 to 1,000 grams silver equivalent. And the reason I say 30 to 50 is because our core zone at Chinchilla oxide averages 30 to 50 meters thick. Now over there, it's oxide mineralization. It's near surface. It's averaging anywhere from 150 to 300 grams per ton silver equivalent over that interval. We would need to see a dramatic increase, which we think as we head closer to the porphyry source, that would potentially be happening, right? You're closer to the porphyry. You're going to get higher temperature minerals forming around there. So copper, your silver, your lead, your zinc are going to form higher grade adjacent to that porphyry versus 4 kilometers away at Chinchilla oxide. So that's the target.
Right. That's very well put. You're hoping to have the drills there by June. You said when, what does that mean for assays? When do you think you're going to have the first assays out? And is it going to be a hole by hole approach, or how do you see it?
Probably try to do it hole by hole or a few holes at a time, depending, right? So I'd say first assays are late July into early August, just because we'll start pre-collaring RC pre-collars in June. We probably won't get core tails out there until, early July.
Hmm.
So
But
give them,
nothing. Yeah, no, go ahead.
just to give it a month and a half, after that to hopefully get the first hole down and assays back.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
But nothing else has to happen in the meantime outside of like the budget has to just get finalized with South 32, but it's looking as good as done. But I mean, permits, water, anything else you have to do in the
Yeah,
meantime.
permits are in place. We have a water well permitted. We probably won't drill that water well because it's about a $500,000 water well. We'll wait to drill that water well until a discovery is made, right? Then it warrants drilling the well, spending the money. Right now, I'd rather see that $500,000 go into an extra hole versus a water well, right?
Right. Okay. So it's just
Yeah.
they finalize the budget. You can start more specifically planning it, and then in June you have the drills there. End of
Yep.
July you're going to have the first assays, and then in the meantime you're going to Big Blue. What did you say next week?
Yep. Big Blue's getting a rig out next week on the 3rd. We'll have an announcement of that once it's officially out there and running. That'll be a 2 month drill program there, about 2,000 meters, chasing both high grade copper skarn and a buried porphyry source that would be sourcing the already known porphyry or copper skarn at surface. So kind of a two-pronged program, small, but we're drilling directly underneath historic mines on a well-evidenced IP target that we did with our IP infill last quarter. So yeah, I have high expectations for the Big Blue program. Results be out for that starting in May all the way into June.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So, well, you're going to have continued news flow starting May throughout the summer, essentially. That's one because Atlas is getting some work done too.
Yeah, Atlas will be drilled a 5 hole program after Big Blue. That's shallow oxide gold. It's a new project we just picked up, and really excited about that project. And I think in the gold environment we're in, it could be a little sneaker project for us that I don't think we're getting a lot of value for, but could be very exciting if we drill a 100 gram meter hole from surface, right? Which we think is entirely possible. The project's never had a drill hole in it. It's over 3 kilometers of continuous gold at surface with up to 8 grams per ton in rock chip. So I mean, it's as far as Nevada goes, that's a unicorn. You
Yeah.
don't see many of those anymore.
We also did a deep dive for people listening on that project not too long ago, you and I, so they can go
Yeah.
back and listen
Yeah.
to it. I think that was a good overview as well. What happens in the meantime, though? What are you doing in April, in March and April?
We'll be drilling. Well, we'll be drilling March and April at Big Blue. We'll be drilling
No, I mean
May.
from a news release perspective. Sorry, I should have been clear. Yeah,
Sorry. We'll be announcing Big Blue starting off. We'll be announcing the Atlas kicking off. We'll probably have updates on budgets. So we'll once we have finalized budgets from Barrick and South 32, I'll announce the full approved budgets for the year, outline those plans. It's going to be pretty steady news flow every 2 weeks for the next 3-4 months,
nice.
honestly.
Yeah,
And yeah, you're going to see a drill hole. A drill rig will be turning at one or more our Ridgeline projects from March 1st or March 3rd all the way till the end of November.
right. That's
Yeah,
yep.
yeah,
That's a very
pretty
good
pretty
overview.
exciting.
So it's essentially okay. So it starts in May and then all throughout the last year because you say until the end of November. So you're gonna next year, no, this year. I'm gonna try
March,
again all
March,
throughout
March
this
through
year.
November. You got it.
Yeah,
March through November, drills are turning. You'll
yeah.
start seeing assays in May all the way through Q1 of 26.
Yeah, I'm gonna blame it on the late hour, even though it's not late. It's only just a little past 8 o'clock for me. So, but I should be asleep by
That
now.
works. That works.
I sleep like a 70-year-old man. You're going to PDAC in the meantime too? I
Yeah.
know. What are you doing there? I mean, you
Yeah.
and yeah, you have because you have the money, you have the
Yeah.
targets, you have the partnerships. You told me last time Big Blue is not open for a JV.
Yeah.
What are you doing at PDAC?
Yeah, we're going there. I mean, really, I'm focusing on awareness now, right? So we've got, we're cashed up. We got a great story going into the year. Now I just want to make sure everybody possible knows about it, right? So I'm going to the MIF conference, Metal Investor Forum, the 2 days before on the 28th and the 1st. Get to present there. I'm on Brian Lundine's, the newsletter writers panel. So good exposure, lots of retail investors there. It should be a good opportunity, I think, to get the story in front of some new eyes. And PDAC will be a lot of meetings with existing shareholders and also reaching out to different groups. I mean, we always have a lot of tire kicking from the majors. I think we're kind of on their radar now as two groups that they want to kind of keep an eye on. So, we're always, presenting the projects. To other companies. And really, it's just like I said, Big Blue and Atlas, neither of them are on the table for a JV right now. We're going to advance those 100%. That doesn't mean I don't want multiple majors to be aware of what we're doing. So if we have success, it's an easier intro discussion the next time.
Are you going to be looking for projects? I know that happens at PDAC too. This kind of a corner where the prospect generators are, and then you can go look for new projects. Is that something you're going to be after this year?
No, we're a hybrid explorer in that we generate our own assets. So
Mhm.
I don't really go to PDAC looking for new stuff. I mean, I'm always keeping my eye open if something really special is there. Obviously it's worth considering doing a deal. I'm just kind of tired of doing deals where we have work expenditure, work commitments, underlying royalties. I'm kind of done with that. So from now on, we're really focusing on generating our own assets, no work commitments, and then we have the royalty ourselves, right? So if we want to slap a royalty on something, we have the ability to do so with these, Big Blue, Atlas. I believe post my information on our interviews, but please reach out, set up a one-on-one meeting with me. We can meet at PDAC or do a Zoom call, and we're always looking for new shareholders.
Awesome. And that's been Chad Peters of Ridgeline Minerals. Thank you so much for spending your time with me.
Yeah, thank you.
And as always, thanks to everyone for watching Resource Talks. I have a couple of more things to say, though. The fact that this company was interviewed here today does not mean that they're necessarily a good or a bad company. I'm not here to endorse nor attack anyone. I am simply here to ask some questions. If you find that I have failed in asking a question that you would have liked to hear an answer to, which will happen as I'm not an experienced interviewer, please let me know and I will try to correct that mistake in a future interview. As mentioned at the beginning, please understand that mineral exploration and development is an extremely risky business. Losing money is the norm and should be the expectation. This is a very complex sector, and the performance of individual companies typically depends on many different moving particles, including company-specific factors like geology, financing ability, and many others, really, as well as particles that are outside of the company's control, like geopolitics, macroeconomics, commodity prices, and many more, most of which are nearly impossible to fully understand. Moreover, these companies that typically get interviewed on Resource Talks are in the pre-revenue stage, which means they rely on the public markets for the financing of their operations, which could result in shareholder dilution. Furthermore, as a general rule of thumb, you'll be better off understanding that all company communications online, albeit this interview or their website and their presentation and their social media accounts, or even the social media accounts which you thought were your friends and then told you about a stock, everything really that these companies do is intended as marketing. And although I do not make buy or sell recommendations because there is a clear conflict of interest given the nature of my business, many out there do. And you should be aware of that inherent bias and you should be careful out there. That bias is not always going to be clearly disclosed with everyone out there. So it is safer for you anytime you're watching any type of company specific content to approach it with a dose of skepticism and assume that the party telling you about it is biased in at least some shape or form, because there will always be a bias. Again, albeit clear or not. So always ask yourself what the incentive of your counterparty is and never rely on them regardless of their incentives, but instead double check if what they're saying is true, again, by using setterplus.ca. The fact that I have no idea what I'm doing should already be clear to you at this point. I am not saying this to make jokes or laugh with myself. I just simply do not have a long enough track record of consistent investment profits. So I should, under no circumstances, be considered an authority on anything. Again, although this may sound amusing to you, believe me, it is not amusing and it is not intended as a joke. I'm simply pointing out a fact and warning you not to rely on anything I do or say. Unfortunately, at least to my understanding, nobody out there has any special abilities. The CEOs do not possess any superior knowledge, and they cannot know about what will go up, what will go down, or what will go in circles. Some people even believe that to be rule number one on Wall Street. Nobody really knows. None of us know whether any of the company's activities will result in a success, again, given that we're talking about high-risk activities where most of the times it ends in failure. Oh, so unfortunately, try as I may, I won't always catch all red flags or all challenges with the companies. So even if I did ask a few tough questions in here, don't rely on this being all of the tough questions. Again, these are complicated startups with many moving parts, and I am conflicted given the nature of this business. Therefore, I cannot guarantee the quality of anything presented in this video, and you cannot hold me responsible for any losses or damages stemming from the way you decide to use this interview. Viewers, listeners, and readers acknowledge and agree that the information presented herein did not constitute a solicitation or an offer to buy or sell any security or investment or to participate in any trading strategy. Resource Talks and all parties involved in the management of the business strictly disclaim any and all liability for losses and or damages, whether direct, indirect, special, or consequential, or other consequences, however so caused, arising out of any use or reproduction of the content published by Resource Talks or any decision made or action taken in reliance upon it. By consuming this content, all consumers vow to release Resource Talks and all parties involved in the management of the business from all claims, proceedings, or consequences. This is all to say, I know it's a lot of lawyer talk, but this is all to say that you shouldn't blindly trust me or anybody on the internet, and you should do your own research. Once again, social media is meant for entertainment. It is setterplus.ca where you do your research. That's where you'll find a company's official filings, and I encourage you to read and analyze the Management Information Circular, the financial statements, the Management Discussion and Analysis, and whenever available, the NI 43-101 technical documents. If you don't understand everything in those documents, the chances of you losing money are even higher than they normally are in this space. And as mentioned earlier, the chances of even the best analysts in this sector losing money are extremely high, since this is venture capital and it is not for everybody. I'll leave you with one of Charlie Munger's quotes, which I wish I had listened to more often earlier on, which says, quote, "If you don't understand it, don't do it."